The story begins in a very cold region of America, on a completely deserted, snowy land. It's winter, so the entire area is covered in snow. A young girl is running, stumbling as she goes. She's out of breath, fear in her eyes. For a moment she thinks about stopping, but then forces herself to keep running. The next day, we see Hawkeye, that is, Corey Lambert. He's a hunter who spots a pack of wolves. He took aim and shot one of the wolves. After that, the rest immediately ran away. Today, Corey had promised that he would spend the whole day with his son. As soon as he called Casey, he came already fully prepared, with a rifle slung over his shoulder. After that, Corey took his son to his grandparents' house. He told his son to wait there for a little while, saying, "I'll just look around nearby and make sure everything's okay." Alright? Actually, Corey had come here for work. His father-in-law had given him the location where a calf had gone missing. They suspected that there was a mountain lion in the area, which could be a threat to their sheep, goats and cows. That's why they had called Corey. But when Corey went out to look for the mountain lion, he only found footprints, but they weren't those of a lion. Soon, while following those tracks, he found bloodstains on the snow. He took some special clothes out of his bag, held his pistol in his hand, and carefully started following the tracks. This was the same path that the girl had used to escape. Even her footprints had been covered by the snow. A little further ahead, the tracks looked as if someone was struggling to walk. Corey kept slowly following the bloodstains. A bit further on, he found the girl. She was lying completely still. Her feet were bare, her body frozen. Blood and snow were stuck to her mouth. Corey immediately called for emergency assistance. So, it was going to take time to get there because the road was in very bad condition. Snow was falling everywhere. Tribal Police Chief Ben said not to move the body until the FBI officer arrived and investigated the scene. But Corey grew restless. He said that the snowfall was getting heavier and soon all the tracks would disappear. Where had the girl run from? Where was she coming from? He asked Ben for permission to investigate alone, but Ben refused and said he knew the girl. This body was Natalie's. But Ben said that they would only confirm after conducting a proper investigation. A little while later, a car arrived there, and when they went up to it, there was a girl sitting in the driver's seat who introduced herself as Jane Banner. She had come here alone and was completely unprepared for the cold. She was wearing light clothes. In this way, she would freeze. She said that she had been sent here in the middle of her training. For an FBI agent to come here to rental one like this seemed very strange to Ben, and his grandmother gave Jane some clothes to wear. Actually, those clothes belonged to his granddaughter. She wasn't very happy about giving them away. When Jane came outside wearing those clothes, Corey froze for a moment upon seeing her. Memories of his daughter began to haunt him. By now, we had understood that his daughter was probably no longer in this world. But what exactly happened, we still didn't know. After this, Corey told Casey that he would be back in a few hours. The snowstorm had stopped and now it was time to return to the site, so he and Jane went there together. Tribal Police Chief Ben arrived there in the second sled. The tribal police had already secured the site. The storm had stopped, but it could return at any moment. Ben and Corey were still arguing. Corey kept insisting that he knew this girl, that she was Natalie. Jane inspected the body up close and said it was very important to call forensics. Corey explained that the girl's house was nearby, but no one had filed a missing report yet. The strangest thing was that even though this girl was from the area, why did she go out barefoot? Jane asked Corey what he thought about it. Corey, looking at the tracks, explained that the poor girl had been running in the snow, who knows for how long, and eventually collapsed here from exhaustion. The icy wind entering her lungs caused a pulmonary hemorrhage, which led to her death. Jane asked Corey if he would help with the investigation. Corey was a hunter, yes, but his skills could be useful here. Corey agreed, saying that there isn't much difference between animals and humans. I can hunt this one too. Later, we see Corey late into the night preparing bullets. At that time, Casey came over. He had heard about Natalie. He simply asked if it was all happening again, and even though he wanted to, he couldn't stop his son. The next day, Jane found out that a report hadn't been filed because Natalie no longer lived with her parents. As soon as she turned 18, she started living with her boyfriend. The medical examiner revealed that Natalie had been brutally assaulted before her death, but couldn't determine whether there was one attacker or several. There were multiple cuts on her body. The cause of death was exactly what Corey had said, pulmonary hemorrhage. Seeing all this, the examiner declared the case a murder. Now they had to find out where this girl had run from, but they had no evidence at all. Distressed in jail, he said that if I send this report to my boss, they'll call me back, meaning there would be no further help from the government. After this, they quickly started the interrogation to find evidence. First, they spoke with Natalie's father. He told Jane he got irritated with the people. He said that his daughter lived with her boyfriend and they had never even met her boyfriend. They didn't know anything about her personal life. Natalie's mother was in the bedroom. Her sister signaled to Jane not to disturb them right now as they were upset, but Jane still went into the room. Inside, she saw Natalie's mother, who was just crying, her back completely hunched over. She was sitting there in total silence. After this, Corey arrived there. As soon as Natalie's father saw Corey, he wasn't angry at all. There was a kind of pain between the two of them that didn't need words to be understood. They hugged each other and he gently said that sometimes it feels easier to hold on to the pain. But after losing my daughter, I've learned one thing. We just need to remember the love she gave us, not the pain of losing her. Anyway, then Martin said, "Look, I don't know much, but I have a good-for-nothing son. He got mixed up with drugs and all that. Those girls, the little feather boys, he hangs out with them. No matter what, Natalie loved her brother very much. Maybe he could tell us something." After this, Ben, Jane and Corey went to the little feather boys area. As soon as they arrived, loud music was playing inside. Ben explained that there are a total of 4 brothers and none of them are easy to deal with. Each one is tougher than the last. Corey went around to the back of the house while his sister and Jane went to the front door. The door was opened by a boy named Sam. It looked like he was heavily under the influence. He slowly said, "My other brother and Chip, who is Natalie's brother, aren't home." Suddenly, he attacked Ben and Jane with pepper spray. Their eyes started burning intensely and their vision became blurry, but Corey calmly picked up a shovel and struck the boy hard. The other boy stumbled and fell on his own. Now Jane grabbed a gun and went inside. Her eyes were still burning. She couldn't see clearly. As soon as she reached a corner, someone immediately fired at her. Jane quickly dodged and then fired a lot of bullets. Sam fell down and started coughing violently. Jane took his gun away with her hand and held him at gunpoint. Then Ben came inside. He saw Sam's condition and said that they should get out of there. Jane suggested calling an ambulance, saying maybe he could be saved, but just then Sam took his last breath. They went outside. Jane followed behind him. Outside, Frank and Che had already been caught. Jane started questioning them, but as soon as Chip found out that his sister had died, he completely broke down. Then an important point came up. Did he know who Natalie's boyfriend was? Jane said that Chip could take them to the boyfriend, but Corey refused. He had noticed fresh tire tracks in the snow. He carefully observed all those tracks through binoculars. These tracks were heading toward the same mountain where Natalie had been found. One very strange thing was that the tracks went up the mountain but did not come back down, and Corey immediately realized that Chip knew something. He told Jane that the snow was still preserving Natalie's story. "We have to hurry, otherwise if a strong storm comes, everything will be erased." As they got closer, Corey turned off the engine. Their sled couldn't move forward through these drifts. Everyone started walking on foot, but they didn't have to go very far. They stopped at the spot. There they found another dead body. The body was buried in the blizzard snow. Birds had pecked at it and there was blood on the body. By evening, the whole area was filled with police. Ben said that they would get the camera recordings from the place where Natalie's boyfriend worked, but the boys who were in their custody remained completely silent. No one said anything. At this, Corey asked if he could talk to them, but he was told that even if they confessed their crimes in front of him, it wouldn't be considered a confession in court. It can only be submitted if an officer is present, but Ben said that if they found something else instead of a confession, Jane stepped aside for a while to talk on the phone. Then Corey went back to Ben and said, "I've known this boy since childhood. Maybe he'll tell me." Reluctantly, Ben allowed Corey to go. When Corey went to talk to Chip, Chip said, "This whole town is useless. What kind of life is this here?" But then Corey, shaking him up, said, "Your sister's killers are still roaming around here. You're going to let them roam free in the town where you were born?" He grabbed Chip by the throat, shoved him hard against the car and said, "Those monsters tore your sister apart and you're shameless?" Saying this, Corey turned to leave, but hearing all this, Chip broke down. He told them everything. Natalie's boyfriend is Matt. He works as a security guard on the drilling rig. But if anyone knows even more, it's Sam. Ask him. but Sam was already dead. Corey went back to Chief Ben and Jane. Jane wanted to know what he had revealed, but she didn't ask anything. His sister said they'd meet at the rig in the morning, but Corey left without giving any clear answer. Soon, the body was identified. It was indeed Natalie's boyfriend Matt. He was a member of the security staff working at the drilling station. When Jane went to Corey's house to give him this news, Corey invited her inside so she could escape the cold. Jane came inside, and while Corey went to get some water, her eyes fell on the family photos. After coming back, he pointed to a photo and said that his daughter's name was Emily. Hearing this, Jane expressed her condolences. Then Corey shared the painful story of what had happened to his daughter Emily in the past. At that time, Corey was working in another city. That day, Corey had gone on a short trip with his wife Wilma. At home, 16-year-old Emily and her younger brother Casey were left alone. That night, a party was held at their house without informing anyone. In the morning, Natalie called and said that Emily was missing. Later, Emily's body was found 20 miles from the house, but by then, foxes had eaten so much of her body that even the autopsy couldn't reveal anything. Remembering all this made Corey very sad. His voice was trembling. Jane realized that she had asked too much. The next morning, Ben took some uniformed officers and went with Jane toward Matt's station. Corey, taking a different route, followed the tracks using a sled. Jane explained everything to the new officers. Their job was to search Matt's trailer and see if there were any clues that could connect to Natalie's murder, and they were also told to report back via radio if they found anything. Corey kept moving forward in the snow. He followed the animal tracks and reached the body of a dead animal. Meanwhile, at the station, the guards said that they were just about to file a missing person report for Matt. They said Matt had been missing for 2 or 3 days because he had a fight with his girlfriend. Jane noticed that 2 of the guards were slightly injured. No, they made excuses, saying their job was so tough. They said they don't even get things like helmets, and that's why things like this keep happening, blaming the company. The supervisor finally gave permission to search the trailer. Corey used binoculars and saw that the tracks he was following passed right by the trailer site, where the other officers were investigating. As they were heading toward the trailer, one of the guards asked Jane if Natalie had filed a missing person report for Matt. Jane replied yes, that Natalie had reported it. At this, the guard immediately said that people must have found Natalie's dead body. Hearing this, everyone became suspicious. The officers nearby started taking positions. The guard also immediately drew his gun. It had turned into a standoff situation. If they hadn't seen either Natalie or Matt for several days, how did they know her dead body was found there? In fact, the news of Natalie's murder hadn't been made public yet. Only the news of a girl's death had been released, without mentioning her name. Anyway, trying to keep the situation under control, Jane said, "I'm from the FBI. If you try anything funny in this country, you can hide wherever you want, but you won't be able to escape." Meanwhile, Corey tried to contact Ben on the radio, but got no response. He grabbed his rifle and ran towards the trailer on foot. When he reached the trailer, Jane found out that another guard named Pete was sleeping inside. He was on the night shift, right? At this point, we were shown a flashback. That night, Natalie arrived at Matt's trailer without telling him, to surprise him. Matt was very happy to see her. They hugged, and later, lying on the bed, they started making plans for the future, where they would eventually settle down. There was a noise from outside. The other guards had returned. They were supposed to stay in town, but came back soon. Natalie was changing her clothes when, in his drunken state, Pete saw her and started misbehaving. Matt pushed him away and closed the curtain. A little while later, Pete came back and started fighting with Matt. Another guard insulted Natalie, so she slapped him. In anger, Pete pulled down Natalie's pants. That was it. Matt was filled with rage and attacked him, but the other guards also started attacking Matt. They grabbed a bottle. They smashed the bottle on his head. He passed out right there. They grabbed Natalie and forced themselves on her. Poor Matt somehow managed to stand up and tried to fight back. During this, Natalie escaped and, as she was leaving through the door, she looked back. Matt was surrounded from all sides. As soon as she heard the sound of choking, she ran towards the snow. Then we returned to the present day. Jane was still knocking on the trailer door. The door was locked from the inside. Curtis was outside, acting as if he didn't know anything. Suddenly, a shotgun was fired from inside, hitting Jane directly and sending her flying back. After this sudden attack, the guards started shooting at the officers. While lying on the ground, Jane fired several shots at a guard's leg and killed him. Suddenly, someone inside started firing with a machine gun, and now Jane saw Ben dying as well. He snatched Jane's gun and was about to kill her. Just then, a sniper shot from a distance and the cultist dropped dead on the spot. It was Corey, who also took out the other two guards. Now only 2 people were left in the trailer. 1 more was killed. Only Pete managed to escape with his life. Pete jumped out the window and ran away. Jane fired at him from under the trailer, but he kept running toward the forest. Then Corey quickly reached Jane. Corey hurriedly helped her onto the sofa inside the trailer. Jane said, "Give me the radio if..." She said, "I'll only survive if the helicopter makes it here." Corey sent a message over the radio and then said, "I'm going after Pete, but even if I catch him, he won't be coming back." Jane agreed. She knew exactly what Corey was about to do. Pete kept running through the snow in the forest. He was exhausted, his breathing heavy, but he still pressed on, gripping his gun. Desperate to survive, Pete nervously waved his pistol around, but at that moment, Corey was dressed in an all-white suit, all around. Because of the snow, he was almost invisible. Corey suddenly attacked him and knocked him unconscious. When Pete regained consciousness, his body was inside a bag. His hands and feet were tied, and his face was covered in blood. In a calm voice, Corey said, "Right now, we're on the highest mountain." Pete said, "I want to talk about something." Corey sat down quietly on a fallen tree nearby and said, "Yes, that's exactly why I'm sitting here, to listen." Slowly shifting into a sitting position, he noticed his bare feet. His shoes were missing. Seeing this, he became very anxious. Someone was silently watching him. The person said, "Start talking, there's very little time." Pete, panicking, began to speak. "Yes, I made a mistake. I forced myself on that girl and I even killed Matt. Please take me to jail. I'm ready to accept the punishment for what I've done." He said, "There is no law here, only me." After hearing his confession, Corey took out his blade and cut the ropes binding Pete's hands and feet. He said directly, "If you can make it to the highway, you'll be free." That's the same chance Natalie got. That poor girl ran barefoot for 6 miles through the snow to escape you monsters. Now it's your turn, you dog. Pete still couldn't quite grasp the situation. He still thought Corey was going to take him to jail, but Corey had something entirely different in mind. He fired the rifle into the air. Startled by the gunshot, Pete began to run like a madman. The terrain was not on his side. There were mountains, slopes, and deep snow. He kept falling, sometimes crawling on his hands, running just like an animal. Corey stood at a distance, simply watching him. After a while, Pete's lungs gave out. He collapsed on his back in the snow, struggling to breathe, and then slowly, painfully, he died. Corey didn't even need to fire a single shot at him. Later on, he went to the hospital. He went to see Jane. Jane was still alive. She looked a little weak, but she would make a full recovery. When he made a small joke, she laughed, and he had also brought her a stuffed toy. After this, Jane became emotional and said, "There's only one thing on my mind. How did that poor girl run 6 miles barefoot? What must she have gone through in such cold?" To this, Corey simply replied, "I've made those who chased her run as well." Later, Corey also went and told Natalie's father the whole story. He advised him not to distance himself so much from his son, saying, "He needs you right now. Hopefully, everything will get better in their lives from here on." So, in your opinion, was Corey right or wrong to take the law into his own hands? Be sure to let us know in the comments. See you in the next video.